Привет всем, с вами я, Janie, и это College Russian. 2023 is a big year for me. This is my 20th anniversary with the Russian language. So I started learning Russian 20 years ago when I was 19, and I actually went to Russia for the first time as well in August of 2023. So this year I've been really thinking about what sets me apart as a Russian teacher and how I can best serve you with my set of skills and experience, my very unique experience that I've had with the Russian language. So today we're going to actually be kind of talking about a very тяжелая тема, a difficult thing, and we're going to be talking about the various problems and stages of grief we Russian learners go through. And I think that what makes me very unique as a YouTuber here is, in fact, and then somebody pointed this out to me, is apparently I am the only native English speaker teaching Russian on YouTube. So there's Russians teaching Russian on YouTube, there's Russians teaching English on YouTube, there's Americans or native English speakers teaching English, but as far as I know, and according to this fellow YouTuber, I am the only native English speaking person with an English speaking brain teaching Russian to people who are learning Russian. So I think, yes, obviously that comes with its disadvantages, but it also comes with some serious advantages. Namely, one of them is that, uniquely I understand your pain. I was just like you 20 years ago. All the same struggles, all the same discouragement, all the same questions that you've had, I had. Trust me, I had, and I pushed through, and over the years I've come up with really great strategies to help my students push through those same discomforts that you feel when you're first learning Russian. So I like to think of myself as kind of a survivor of Russian grammar, like I'm very proud. I survived those struggles, those stages of grief that we're going to talk about today. And I don't like to toot my own horn, but I am often mistaken for a native by native speakers. I've had the stamp of approval from many of my viewers, and more importantly, I've had the stamp of approval from the Russian wives and girlfriends and husbands of my students who I teach. So that makes me feel good. And real quick, before we go on to our therapy session, I hope you're getting ready to pour out your heart and soul into the comments. I want to remind you to subscribe and also go over to Patreon. I'm getting a lot of patrons over there, and it means the world to me because I love sharing my passion for the language with you. It's so good to feel that what I'm doing here matters and somebody is benefiting from it. So go over to Patreon and see some of the benefits that come with membership over there, and just give me a big congratulations on 20 years of surviving Russian grammar. And again, we would love to see you at our conversation club on Saturdays. So let's go ahead and start our therapy session. Today's session is about the stages of grief that come when you're learning Russian. So first stage is, remember how proud you were when, yes, I got the alphabet. I know the alphabet. It made you feel like dyslexic for a good 6 months. Like you seriously felt like something was wrong with your eyes and like maybe you needed to get checked for vision problems. And then finally, when you get that you look at a word and you don't see English anymore, you see Russian, like you're so proud of yourself. And then sure enough, your teacher comes and starts telling you about gender of nouns and that there's 4 different ways to say my, and then there's 4 different ways to say to go, and then so it's like, geez, I just got through the alphabet and now you're dumping all this other stuff on me. Okay, so that's stage number 1. That's a very light stage. That stage it's very usually short-lived and it's easy to navigate through. The next stage, tell me in the comments, feel free to give compliments in the comments if you have had this as well. Okay, I remember having, so this is like a few months in, I remember being like, wait, why do the words keep changing? I thought you said большой meant big, and now you're saying больших means big, but wait, which one is it? Is it большой or is it больших? I thought it was большой. And then you like start to question your sanity of like, am I remembering this wrong? Like, why did I think handbags was sumki and now suddenly it's suma? Okay. Then, do you guys remember? Tell me if you remember that moment. You realized like the cases were a thing and they're not optional. They are not optional. Like you can't just like do whatever case you're in the mood for. Like, I feel like doing prepositional case right now. No, you have to do certain cases with certain words. Oh my goodness. Like, when I realized that there was essentially 10, sometimes more, different versions of every single noun or adjective, like, yeah, no, and that's precisely the moment where I was like, no, screw this. Like, I can't, I'm gonna go do Spanish or Pig Latin or something. Like, I will never learn Russian. And so I really did. I gave up speaking Russian. I went, and I was in Moscow at the time, and I went through this period where I was like, I'll just speak English. Everybody wants to practice their English. I'm just gonna speak English. And like, I know a lot of you are going through this, because this is kind of the stage where a lot of people come to me for help. Is like, I don't know. I don't know how this is ever gonna happen. Am I ever gonna learn this language? Can I even do it? And, you know, we're gonna talk about that stage more in depth tomorrow. But for right now, like, I feel you. I was there. I was like, I will never get this. 20 years ago, seriously, 20 years ago, almost right now to the day, I was like, nah, I give up. I can't do it. So then you give up on Russian, and you give up on it, and then you're gonna find the next stage of grief sets in, where you're like, but I kind of miss Russian. Russian's kind of like the best, and I kind of want to learn it, and it's so fun to talk to the people, and I love rolling my R's, and I feel so awesome when I speak it. So then what happens is I decided, so obviously I stuck with Russian, but I decided, you know what, I get too overwhelmed when I think about the cases, so I'm just gonna speak without the cases. And so I did for like a couple of months. No, not a couple of months, a couple of weeks. I tried to speak with my Russian friends without the cases. That didn't go great because then what happens is this is frustrating for everybody involved. Okay, so this is frustrating for the natives because it's really painful to listen to. And in tomorrow's video, I'm going to illustrate for you what it would sound like in English if a person kind of spoke without grammar rules. And it really is like fingernails on a chalkboard. Then also, have you noticed that when you speak too incorrectly, well, one, the Russians will kind of get this like look on their face, like it's kind of, you can tell that it's like painful for them. Or, again, tell me in the comments if you feel me here, okay? So they'll get that look on their face, they feel sorry for you or something. Or they just say, let's just switch to English. I'll help you. Or they finish your sentences for you, right? Because it's too painful for them to just sit there and listen and let you make mistakes. So they finish your sentences for you. And yeah, and then again, or they just didn't really want to talk to me very much in Russian. So therefore, I wasn't getting the practice that I needed to improve my Russian. And really, it takes a special soul to be patient with incorrect grammar. Like, you really need to be a professional, because the average person does not have patience for that kind of like repeated grammar, so many repeated grammar mistakes. So again, unless you have a very patient friend that has the heart of a teacher, it can be really hard to really push through, you know, that feeling that you're annoying people and just insist on people practicing with you. Okay, so just to illustrate kind of what this sounds like, you're gonna get a kick out of this. Here's some of the sentences. I remember, like, you know, I don't remember this exact sentence, but I remember like wanting to say something similar, and this was when I was in my phase where I was just speaking without the cases, because I just decided they were optional in Russian. So I remember I was trying to find a place where I could buy a guitar, and I went in and I said, "Ой, извините, где я можно купить гитара?" You know, and like the person's like, Of course, they always understand you. They understand what you're trying to say. Like, and in tomorrow's video, again, I will illustrate for you with English how this kind of sounds when people speak just with complete disregard for the grammar rules. So come back tomorrow, because it's going to be funny. I think you're going to think it's funny. So here's an example sentence. Где я можно купить гитару? There's no cases. It's all wrong there. Then the other one is I just tried to use like English. I just would translate things directly from English into Russian. So like, here's another one. I'm on the metro. I want to know, you know, what station should I get out at? And so I used to say things like this. Какая станция я надо выйти на? Again, if you know here. Like this is it's bad. But again, people always understood me. They understood me, right? They understood me. And again, tomorrow when I show you these examples in English, you're going to be like, yeah, I get what you're trying to say. Now, like, it gives me a headache to try and solve the puzzle, but I understand what you're trying to say. So in tomorrow's video, we're going to talk more about what happens when you speak without the cases. And we're going to actually analyze the speech of this famous YouTuber, Bald and Bankrupt, who tries to claim that you don't need Russian grammar. And we're going to talk about, again, what the second language acquisition theory says about that concept. And then I will give you some tips and tricks of, is that true? One, is that true? And then two, what can you do to start easing yourself into understanding the cases? I want to hear from you in the comments below. What are some of your stages of grief that you've gone through? And how did you motivate yourself to keep going? Let's kind of commiserate with one another. And I would love to hear your stories so that I can help serve you and help find materials and videos that are helpful for you and that motivate you to keep pushing on. Хорошо, это все на сегодня. До свидания.